Imagine you're a known, talented actor in your own right and you've got a good career going. Now imagine that you have an older brother who's not just an actor but a legend in his own time. So much of a legend that a big chunk of the general public doesn't even realize he has a brother. Welcome to the world of Jerry van Dyke. Born in 1931, Jerry started doing stand-up comedy while he was still in high school. He kept doing it while he was in the Air Force in the 1950s, telling his self-deprecating jokes and playing his banjo. In 1964, he turned down the role of Gilligan because he thought it was too goofy. He chose this instead. The rest, as they say, is history. He made several appearances on the Dick Van Dyke Show as Rob's brother Stacy, a faltering, accident-prone introvert who pretty well matched Jerry's stand-up character. In his most famous episode, or at least my favorite, he's suddenly become the life of the party. Thing is, he has no idea he's the life of the party because he's sleepwalking.
My heart told me that I should get a wife. My heart said I was in a rut. Ooh. My heart told me that I should get a wife. I wish my heart would keep its big mouth shut.
After I watched this the first time it aired, I went around singing that song for a week. He finally hit on a truly memorable role when he became Luther Van Dam, the bungling sidekick on Coach. He retired not long after that, but in 2015, a distracted driver hit his car head-on and he suffered serious spinal injuries. His health declined after that and he died in 2018 at the age of 86. But we're not here to talk about that depressing stuff. We're here to make fun of him. Say hello to David Crabtree. He's your basic suburban family man, a lawyer by trade, and today he's shopping for a car. For reasons he can't explain, he keeps coming back to this dust bucket. Excuse me, fixer-upper. Aren't we all like that? When we see an oldie like this rolling down the road, we can't help but stare. Something about these ancient cars strikes a chord in us. David is no exception. The idea of fixer-upping this car is starting to tickle his synapses.
Hello, Davy.
Oh, Mother.
Or maybe a few of his synapses are starting to fall off.
Well, just don't sit there with your mouth hanging open. Say hello.
Hello, Mother. Mother?
David's ready to say hello to a psychiatrist.
Now, son, take it easy. You'll probably go through the roof when you hear this, but this is your mother talking. David, I've come back.
Oh!
That'll be a common problem in this series. Too much temptation to grab the low-hanging fruit.
You're sure looking great. I didn't think things like this were possible.
Oh, you didn't, huh? Well, I understand there's a baseball team called the Mets. If that's possible, I'm possible.
The Mets were formed in 1962 and were the worst team in Major League Baseball. The idea was to put baseball back in New York since the Giants had relocated to San Francisco several years earlier and the Brooklyn Dodgers had moved to Los Angeles. That left New York with the Yankees but no team in the National League. The Mets filled that gap. Speaking of gaps, I was 9 when all this happened, and I couldn't figure out why the logo had a silhouette of a cave with a bunch of stalactites. In any case, the Mets became the national joke overnight, as you just heard. She says she decided to come back because he needs help, but people don't get a choice as to how they come back. This was the card she drew, so they're both stuck with it.
Did I raise my very own son to leave his very own mother sitting on a used car lot?
I'll go make a deal with the salesman.
She had to feel good about the fact that guilt manipulation still works on him. It means she taught him well. What else did she teach him?
Barbara, you say? Do you realize that the motor alone is worth twice what I paid for the whole car?
I couldn't do that.
Why couldn't you do that?
Because I'm going to tell her the truth, that's why.
The truth? But she'd never believe you. For the sake of your marriage, David, lie. Just lie.
She taught him to lie. Why? Because, of course, she's only going to talk to him. We had already seen that scenario. Mr. Ed was in its 5th season and as popular as ever. If you've been living in oblivious Stan all your life and don't know, Mr. Ed was a sitcom about a talking horse that only talked to one person, Wilbur Post. Whenever Will tried to tell someone the horse could talk, they'd think about calling a doctor. David's wife Barbara and his two children Cindy and Randy will react the same way when he tells them the car is his mother and it talks. Except it's not nearly as funny as when Wilbur did it.
Well, what do you say we all go for a spin around the block, huh? Come on, honey, not in front of the kids. Huh? Randy, Cindy, want to go for a spin around the block?
Sorry, Dad, but I have to do my homework. And I'm going to help her.
All right, Cartertopia fans, her name is Cindy Eilbacher, and we've seen her before, somewhat older, like in her teens. Name that episode. When even the dog won't approach him, he gives up and goes with a lie about the motor.
You scared me.
Well, I'm awful sorry, honey. At least everything's back to normal now.
Not quite. For one thing, we're not speaking.
What?
And I wouldn't leave that car in the driveway if I were you. Today is trash day.
For all the good it did him. He says, "Thanks a lot, Mom. All you had to do was say something."
That's right. Just say hello and I'm a talking car. And if anybody finds out you have a car that talks, they'd cart me off and put me on display. Like at the Smithsonian Institute or the Johnny Carson show. I'd be a freak.
Well, I wouldn't let them do that to you, Mom.
Thank you, son.
That's her reasoning. She seems to think Barbara's an awful blabbermouth because she refuses to talk to anybody but him. Who says anybody outside the family has to find out? You don't even have to tell the kids. Just tell his wife and save his marriage, you selfish old hag. I already don't like her. She's overbearing, not to say oppressive. She guilts him and talks to him as though he's 10 years old. She came back to pamper her little boy, and I suspect if she had hands, she'd be using real Pampers.
It's true, it's a genuine 1928 Porter before my very eyes. I'll get right down to where the rubber meets the road. I am Captain Manzini.
Tonight, the part of our villain will be played by Avery Schreiber, well-known actor and comedian. I'll have more to say about him in subsequent episodes. Short version of the character, he's a car collector, he wants this one, and he is not in the habit of taking no for an answer. We get a montage of David taking Mom to various car washes, tune-up shops, and paint shops, while Manzini follows him everywhere, offering more and more money. There is one good gag, which I am happy to share. That's a dual gag because, as I said, Avery Schreiber is playing Captain Manzini, but in addition, there was a low-priced auto painting chain known as Earl Scheib. I confess I laughed out loud at that one, partly because I had a car with an Earl Scheib paint job. Yeah, a year after it was painted, I was at a do-it-yourself car wash, and when I pointed the wand at the roof of the car, a chunk of paint the size of this chair flew off. I am not making that up. Fortunately for the company, Yelp didn't exist yet. And apparently we didn't get enough of that theme song because we have to listen to it again.
Everybody knows in the second.
No, we don't. That's a heck of a transformation. You think Manzini wanted it before.
Dave, it's beautiful. I don't mind it at all now.
Thanks, honey.
The way you got it fixed up, somebody is sure to buy it.
Sold!
He offers $1,000. Barbara's going inside to get the title, whether Dave likes it or not. Dave locks Manzini in the garage and says, "Okay, Mom, you said you're here to help, so get to it."
All you have to do is get Manzini to offer $1,500 for me.
I don't see how that solves anything.
Get him to make the offer in front of Barbara.
But I still don't see...
Now listen, Manzini started out by offering $400, right? Now he's upping the price to $1,000. Doesn't it stand to reason that the longer you hold out, the higher he'll go?
We could also raise the question of whose name is on the title and if it's even legal for Barbara to sell it, but that's way too easy.
Oh, he'll never go that high.
Oh, yes, he will.
He won't.
He will.
He won't.
He will! $1,500 and the car is mine? 1, 2, 3,
Captain?
4, 5,
No.
6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. No!
He storms off with the promise that we haven't seen the last of him. Dave is a hero.
It happened just the way you said it would.
Yeah,
When did you suddenly start getting so shrewd?
when I bought that car. Honey, get the children.
Anything you say, dear.
2 weeks later, they sold the house and moved to Stepford. This was a terrible start. Not only is the title character not likable at all, the jokes are few and far between and not very good. I don't know what Jerry van Dyke was thinking, but he should have gone with Gilligan. I know we're establishing the whole premise of the show, but we could have given Mom a few decent jokes. We could have given the kids a little more to do. As it sits right now, we know they exist, and that's about it. The episode is loaded with padding. To give one example, that sequence with the new paint job and all where they were playing the theme song again, yeah, that went on for almost 2 minutes. They actually repeated the visuals of the car that we had already watched. We saw the car drive down the road and vanish into the distance. Really, I don't know how far it was from the paint shop to his house, but I'm pretty sure we watched him drive every inch of it. We go with stuff like that when there isn't enough material in the script to fill the run time. Rather than go back to the writers and make them put something entertaining there, we follow the path of least resistance. Avery Schreiber gave us a couple of nice visual gags, but even he and Jerry van Dyke together playing off each other isn't enough to save this script. We use filler when we don't have ideas. And so far, we have a heck of a lot of filler. As my dad used to say, "'Tain't right, but it's so." There was a low-priced auto painting chain. Auto painting.